Where have you been?
4 months.
What? So... What? He's a nugget! Are you fucking disabled? Oh shit!
So, I know what you've all been thinking. Why haven't you uploaded? Have you gotten injured? Have you died? Or even worse, did you catch the coronavirus? Well, no, in fact, I've contracted an even deadlier disease. It's called the Persona virus. This shit has taken over my life for the past few months, and honestly, I couldn't be more grateful. Persona 4 Golden is probably one of the best games I've ever played, hands down. And today, I shall be persuading you to play it yourself. Alright, so Persona 4 released on the 10th of July in 2008. The new and improved version that I'll be discussing is the Golden version, which came out on the 14th of June in 2012. Now then, you may be asking, Jesus Christ, what the hell is that thing? Well, my friend, that is a PlayStation Vita. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, the console that everybody knew of yet nobody owned. I'm probably in like the 169th of the population that actually owns one of these ancient relics. Heck, even Sony didn't give a shit about this thing, as they halted the production of the system back on March 2nd, 2019. Now, the Golden version of Persona 4 was released on the PlayStation Vita for some reason. It's such a stupid choice by Atlas, because instead of releasing it on the PlayStation 3, they made it coincide with the release date of this dead system. Anyways, Persona 4 Golden comes with a few new improvements, such as the change of Chie Satonaka's voice actor.
Oh, nearly forgot. I'm Chie Satonaka. You know, I sit next to you, right?
Oh, nearly forgot. I'm Chie Satonaka. You know I sit next to you, right?
As well as some new added content such as new events and the addition of Marie. Now then, if you do so happen to enjoy everything you'll be hearing about the game, you can check it out by buying it on Steam or this thing. However, I highly doubt any of you actually own a PS Vita, so Steam is the most viable option. But enough of my waffling, let's just discuss the story. The game starts off with the protagonist, which you get to name. However, for the sake of this video, we will refer to him as Yuna, since that was the name assigned to this character in Persona 4 the animation. Yes, they also made an anime after this game, which I do also highly recommend. Anyway, so Yuna is a transfer student. He moves from his hometown of Tokyo, Japan, because his parents are working overseas, to a smaller rural area called Inaba. Once he arrives at the train station in Inaba, he meets up with his uncle Ryotaro Dojima and younger cousin Nanako Dojima. Once Narukami arrives home, there's a TV report about some woman called Mayumi Yamano having sexual relations with a politician called Taro Namatame. Yeah, whatever, I'm a shitty little YouTuber, who cares about politics? It's probably not that important to begin with. Now, Yu Narukami is quite special, since he's the character you control in Persona, so of course he'd be special. No one would want to play the game if the main character was fucking Remus. All of your acquaintances in Persona 4 have a persona. They're a manifestation of one's inner feelings, but tamed and trained. On the other hand, a shadow is the manifestation of one's inner feelings, but more wild and malevolent. In other words, they're dickheads which you have to take down. Yu Narukami can holster more than one persona, therefore he's OP and can beat up your dad. On the way to school, Yu Narukami stumbles across a retard in a bin, Yosuke Hanamura, which becomes your friend. Yu also meets Chie Satonaka, which likes to destroy the testicles of men, and Yukiko Mahabi. Alright, so now Yu has obtained friends and a roof over his head in the span of 5 minutes. What could possibly go wrong, you may be asking? Well, remember how I said that Mayumi Yamano was having sexual relations with Taro Namatame? Yeah, well, she's dead now. In fact, a lot of people are starting to die. Throughout the game, a rumor aroused about something called the Midnight Channel. It would apparently show you your soulmate on TV at midnight when it rained. However, what appeared was actually the next victim. I should also mention that Yu Narukami can enter TVs and that there's also a talking bear inside the TV, but I don't want to get into any serious spoilers, so I'll let you figure that shit out on your own. So basically, to sum up everything, this is a murder mystery. The protagonist will meet more people along the way, like Kanji Tatsumi, a juvenile delinquent, Ise Kujikawa, a famous idol in Japan, Naoto Shirogane, a young detective trying to solve the case of the murders in Inaba, and Teddy! Now then, let's get to the real shit. You wanna play a game for the gameplay, right? Well, I'm sorry to say this, but it may be hard trying to sell the game to you if you have a monkey brain which only likes games where you press square to win. This game uses turn-based combat, and quite frankly, I love it.
The fuck is this shit, man? Who cares about some next game no one's heard about? Man said turn-based combat, what the fuck is that?
Bitch!
What the fuck was that for?
This game is not shit, it's amazing. You're just too stupid to grasp the fact that it's so good.
Alright, calm then. If it's sick, then sell it to me. What the hell?
You can date women. You have my attention. Yes, you heard me right, you can date women. Now, Persona 4 uses a system called social links, which is pretty much a side story to the main plot of the game. Each rank of a social link further develops the side narrative which has been conveyed, and hell, some social links can even be broken. An example of a social link is Yosuke Hanamura's social link, which comprises of him having to cope with the fact that he's moved from Tokyo to Inaba as well, like Yu Narukami, and how he has to worry about major responsibilities now, like taking care of Junes, which is his family's mom. This further builds the character and allows you to grow more attached to him. As a result, I truly gave a shit about the characters of Persona 4 Golden because of their social links and how well they were written, something which Persona 5 fails to do properly, but that's a topic for another day. Okay, enough of the lovey-dovey baby shit, we're all men here, alright? Maybe. So you're probably asking, how do I date females? Well, if you get a social link high enough with a woman, your bond can become intimate. Now, I know that some of you guys are a bit wild and you may want to date more than one woman. However, I do not condone this behavior because you might face some repercussions. You know, you do you, innit? Alright, let's talk about the dungeon crawling aspect of the game, since that's what you're going to spend the majority of the time doing. I'll have to be blunt and say that this may be the weakest part of the game, even though it is the most prominent. A dungeon in the game is procedurally generated. This means that every single floor is always randomized. For example, let's say you're on the 4th floor of a dungeon. You go to the 5th and return back to the 4th again. The 4th floor is now going to change to something else compared to what you previously saw. This can be quite rage-inducing if you're grinding for XP to defeat the next boss, because you have to wander around aimlessly since the map is new until you encounter another shadow again, over and over and over until you finally level up. Oh, but let's not even get started on those fucking golden chests that require the keys that you can only obtain from shuffle time, which only comes down to luck! Oh. Right, I haven't yet mentioned shuffle time, which is quite crucial to the game since that's the way you obtain personas. After a battle has ended, shuffle time might commence. This is a short activity where you have the choice of obtaining health, money, experience, skill cards, the opportunity to level up stats of a persona, chest keys, and also personas themselves. Some cards might say 2 more or 1 more above them. However, they will usually have a negative side effect, like halving the XP or money you've earned during that battle. If you do so happen to clear the deck of cards during shuffle time, you would get a sweep bonus, meaning that you have a definite shuffle time the next time you finish a battle. This can keep going, but it will end if you don't clear the deck of cards during shuffle time. Wow, that was quite a mouthful. Anyhow, let's talk about the one aspect that genuinely saves the dungeon crawling in the game, which is the combat. As I previously stated, the combat is turn-based, meaning that you have time to strategically decide your next attack to take down an enemy since it goes in turns. Whenever you encounter a shadow in the dungeon, you should always strike it from behind, since that gives you the player advantage, meaning that your party is first to attack. On the other hand, if the shadow attacks you first, then the enemies are first to attack. However, if you choose to do none of those and get spotted by a shadow and then attack, then this would mix the turn so that it's not just you or the shadows attacking first, but maybe you, a shadow, then a party member, then a shadow. You get me? The combat in the game is actually like a game of Pokemon, except that it's more fun because there are more animations on the screen. Let me give you an example of a battle. Let's say an enemy is weak to ice. You would use an ice-based persona to weaken them. Let's say another enemy is weak to electricity. You would use an electricity-based persona to weaken them, which downs them. If all the enemies in a battle are down, then you could use an all-out attack to deal damage to all the enemies whilst conserving your SP and HP. Oh yes, I forgot to mention SP and HP. SP are skill points, which allow you to use elemental attacks like wind, electricity, fire, ice, light, dark, and healing. HP are health points, which can be used to deal physical attacks to strike an enemy. This deals a lot of damage to the enemy, but it also damages you too. It's a double-edged sword essentially, but if you have a healing ability in your party, then you should be fine. There's also the option to just attack, which doesn't use any of your HP or SP, but it usually isn't very effective, and I highly advise you not to use it. You could also use items to heal, get rid of ailments like rage or poison, revive an ally, and also to restore your SP. But items which restore your SP are hard to come by, so only use them if you're in dire need, like for instance in a boss fight, because otherwise you'll die. In battle, you can also switch your persona, because you know Narukami has more than one. This is quite useful since one persona may have a skill that one enemy is weak to. Remember, you can only switch your persona once per turn, so don't come crying to me if you switch to a useless persona that nobody wants. There's also an option to guard, which, you guessed it, makes you guard. This will reduce any oncoming damage by a significant amount. If a boss is getting ready for a special attack, use it wisely. Last but not least, there's escape. Listen, I'm gonna be real with you. Unless you're a baby bitch, don't ever waste your time with that shit. Defeat the enemies and get some XP. Everything I mentioned now may sound a bit confusing. However, once you play the game, it's gonna come to you naturally because it's not that difficult to grasp. In the dungeons, you're going to need strong armor and weapons to be able to defeat shadows and withstand their attacks, so go to Metalworks to get yourself sorted out. Also, if you require any items for healing purposes or just to kill ailments, make sure you go to the Shiroku store. FYI, stock up on Goho Ms, otherwise you'll have to go all the way to the bottom of the dungeon if you wish to exit, which is quite a monotonous process, just like writing the script for this video. Now, the game follows the structure on a day-by-day basis. You have school from Monday to Saturday. Imagine having school on Saturday and only having one day off. Could never be me. I finished my GCSEs, come on, 3-month holiday. In school, you will have to answer questions in class, which will raise your knowledge, which is one of your social stats. The social stats of Persona 4 consist of courage, diligence, knowledge, understanding, and expression. These core fundamentals need to be leveled up in the game to be able to progress. You can buy books from the Yomenaido bookstore to increase your social stats. You can also visit the cinema in Okina City once you obtain a scooter. An example for a required social stat in a social link is if you want to be able to establish a social link with the character of Ai Ebihara. Your courage is required to be brave. This is because she wants you to bunk school so you can hang out with her. Pretty irresponsible if you ask me. In school, you can also join after school clubs. For example, the football team. Yes, it's football because you kick the ball with your foot. You obese Americans. And the basketball team, which I haven't joined in my playthrough of the game. You could also attend the music club or the drama club so you could be a famous actor like Leonardo da Vinci. What the fuck? All these extracurricular activities establish a new social link. For example, in the football team you meet Daisuke, and in the basketball team you meet Kao. But either way, it doesn't matter since they all hang out with each other all the time, forcing you to tag along too. In the music club you meet Ain, and in the drama club you meet Yumi. You aren't necessarily compelling characters, but they suffice. After school is over, you'll be able to work. This earns you money and it also initiates initiates another social link. However, these social links require high social stats, like for example the tutoring job. What the f? It literally demands for max understanding. Even I couldn't do it in time. My brain doesn't work that fast, man. Alright, the last thing I want to mention, since it's quite important, is the fusion of personas. I haven't mentioned this up until now. In the Persona games, there's something called the Velvet Room. It's been a staple of the Persona series ever since Persona 1 up until the newest edition, Persona 5. In the Velvet Room, you meet Igor, whose nose is the size of my PS4 collection, and Margaret and also Marie, depending on what version of the game you're playing. With the help of Igor, you're able to fuse personas together to create stronger personas which have better abilities. And the system of fusing personas is quite intricate, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. Just know that you sacrifice 2 or more of your personas, fuse them together, and then select the abilities that you would like to transfer over from your old personas to the fancy new persona. I should also state that different social links allow you to get more XP for personas of specific arcanas. For example, let's say your social link with Yosuke Hanamura is a high rank. He specializes in the Magician Arcana. A persona like Jack Frost is also of the Magician Arcana. When you fuse 2 or more personas to make Jack Frost, you will earn more experience points for Jack Frost so that he would be a higher level, in turn making him so OP that he'd be able to RKO Fahim. So in conclusion, I love this game to bits, man, honestly. Even though it does have its flaws, like for example the dungeons, which are just tedious and monotonous, there's also of course the fact that the narratives of the social links doesn't actually collide with the main plot of the story. I mean, it's quite ridiculous because they haven't figured this shit out in Persona 5 either. I'm gonna wait for Persona 6 and see if they manage to fix that issue. So in spite of its flaws, I still managed to enjoy this game to bits. All 83 hours and 56 minutes. What the fuck? I genuinely recommend this game to whoever's watching, whether you're young, middle-aged, old, or Fahim. You'll get to meet one of the best cast of characters in a Persona game up to date, and you'll also get a compelling story, even though it was a bit predictable. But anyway, I hope you lot enjoyed this review. If you do want to see more reviews for other games that you personally enjoy that I might have played, then just type it in the comments. But for now, I'm planning to do another review on Persona 5 Royal if this video gets enough likes. Let's make it like 20 or some shit, I don't know. Alright, goodbye.